Welcome to Case Note Friday. My name's Fadana. I'm a family law solicitor practicing in Sydney, Australia. And today I'm going to talk to you about an important case note involving employment law. It's called Chandler and Westpac. Westpac is one of the big four banks in Australia. And Carly Chandler worked for Westpac. She'd been there since the year 2002, so a very loyal employee of over 23 years. Initially, she worked full-time and now she was working part-time because she, like me, had 6-year-old twins. And because of that, she had some childcare obligations that meant that she was not able to meet the requirements that her boss was saying that she had to now return to going back to the corporate office when she had been working from home. She wasn't able to do it. So she thought, oh, that's okay. They have a policy. So I'll just write to my employer and formally request that I be allowed to work from home and that I not be required to go to the corporate office as she used to do, because now her circumstances had changed. She used to live closer to the corporate office, which was in Kogarah, but now she'd moved 2 hours away with her partner, and her girls were in private school. They'd started private school now, which was half an hour away, but half an hour in the other direction, and she was required to do the pickups and drop-offs. Her partner could not because he travelled interstate frequently and was not able to do it. So she was responsible for that. Her current working hours were 8 o'clock to 2 o'clock, 4 days a week. So she was able to do the school pickups and drop-offs, an important part of her job. And she worked for Westpac in I think it's the lending team. And so her role did not require her to go to the office. She'd been working successfully from home for a long time. But when they said to her that she was required to now go back to the corporate office 2 days a week in accordance with their policy, she had to push back. Now, initially when she was employed, it was full-time and she did have to work at the corporate office, but circumstances had changed since then. She now works part-time and her role had become over time remote, so she was able to do it from home. So in January 2025, she writes to her bosses and says, and makes a formal request to be able to work from home. Initially, her boss says yes, but it was like a tentative yes. Carly wasn't able to go to the Kogarah office anymore. It was 2 hours away, but her local branch in Bowral, she was able to go to. So she suggests as a compromise, as an olive branch, how about I just go to the local branch over in Bowral? I can do that 2 days a week. Her boss initially says that's fine. Mr. Brand, her boss, says tentatively it was a short-term olive branch to assist her to transition, he says, back to in-office work. He agreed. She was then working fine. However, when they then insisted that she go back, because in January 2025, Mr. Potts returns from leave and reversed the decision, requiring her to go to that corporate office in Kogarah. So she makes a formal request under the Fair Work Act, under Section 65, which was then saying, I'm able to do my role from home. I don't have to go into any corporate office or any branch office at all. So Mr. Potts had reversed the decision and said that she could no longer work from home. So knowing her rights, she asked for reasons why. Why can't I work from home? On the 19th of March, Mr. Potts, the Senior Operations Manager, wrote her this email and said, working from home is no substitution for childcare, and your arrangements from working remotely may change at any time at Westpac's discretion. Talk about trying to make a power move and put her in her place. That's what he put in an email, and that email was used in this case in support of Carly. So Carly tried to compromise with her bosses. She got a representative who wrote to Westpac and said that she would go to the corporate office 1 day per week and then 1 day in the branch. So she's really trying to compromise. But by 30 May, Westpac's position was that Carly should be required to undertake a phased return to 2 days a week in the corporate office in Kogarah by January 2026. And she did not accept that, so they went to the Fair Work Commission. Now, Westpac was trying to argue that they had reasonable business grounds for asking that Carly go to that corporate office, and there was a genuine and reasonable basis for them requiring her to go to the corporate office at least 2 days a week. And Carly was able to show that it's complete garbage. There was no requirement that she do that. The system that she worked on, the software system, was called Spider. How fitting, given today is Halloween. She was able to do her job remotely and had been doing it so successfully since 2021. So the idea that she had to go to the corporate office was rubbish. And when they say things like you need to come in for corporate building and for team building and so that you have a presence there for work culture, All nonsense. She wasn't required to do that to fulfill her role. But Westpac were not really able to present a business case, their grounds for why she had to go to the office. Nothing that they proposed really sounded genuine to the Commission. Basically, they were just being assholes. Westpac tried to say that her role required a mixture of in-person and remote work to effectively manage her job in a very large office like Westpac. It was appropriate to seek and maintain minimum office attendance unless an employee falls with one of the exceptions in the policy. Because remember, they had a flexible work from home policy. They said there are benefits to having the physical presence in the office. It's important in legal cases that you make concessions that may not help your case. So Carly was open to the Commission and said, you know what, there are some benefits to in-person attendance, to going to the corporate office and having that face-to-face interaction with the other staff. So she conceded that. However, there weren't reasonable business grounds for her to do that. She could complete her role from home. She did do that during the pandemic. They were able to use Microsoft Teams and have meetings that were online. Further, there was no question that Carly's work can be performed completely remotely. She has been working remotely for a number of years and doing it very successfully. So the Fair Work Commission granted Carly's request. They said to her, yeah, we think that you're absolutely right. There's no reason that you can't continue to work for Westpac and do it entirely from home, notwithstanding those compromises that she made. And they found that Westpac didn't have proper reasonable business grounds to refuse the request. They didn't really consider her personal circumstances, and it's important for employers to make sure that when an employee makes a request, you don't blatantly just say, no, we've got a policy. No, you have to actually consider it and look at the circumstances to see whether or not the request can be granted. They were far too dismissive of her request and didn't genuinely try to resolve the dispute, as she had made several compromises. The evidence didn't support what they were trying to say because she has been working from home. She's been working from home in that role very successfully and able to do the school pickups and drop-offs. It didn't affect her work performance. And that was evidenced by the fact that she'd worked there for so many years successfully in that company. So you know what, maybe they should have been nicer and showed a little bit more loyalty towards their employee and tried to say, you know what, we're going to work with you here because you're a valued staff member and have been for many years. Now, I really think it's extraordinary that a lot of people, I think, would have said in Carly's role, well, you know what, I'm resigning, I'm going to go work for someone else, I don't want to work for you guys. But she didn't. She liked working there, she had a really good job, and she knew in her heart of hearts that she could do her job working from home, doing it remotely, because she had been doing that. So she fought it, she won, she took on the big guys and she won. We love a story like that.